From the death-defying heights of Siachen to the high-stakes pressure of global boardrooms. Today's guest has lived leadership where most of us only read about it. A soldier who earned the Sena Medal for gallantry on the Siachen Glacier, a corporate leader who transformed HR for more than 4,500 people, and an author who believes real leadership is forged where courage meets uncertainty. What does a man learn on a glacier at minus 40 degrees centigrades that helps him lead a global workforce across 7 countries today? We are about to find out. Jai and friends, from the freezing heights of Siachen to the comforts of the corner office in a global tech firm, today's guest has lived leadership in the rawest and possibly the most transformative ways. A decorated soldier, a seasoned corporate leader, and now an author, Col Vineet Dev's journey is a masterclass in courage, adaptability, and purpose. He is a recipient of Sena Medal for gallantry in the Siachen Glacier, has 27 years of invaluably rich experience in the Indian Army, has been in the corporate in HR and operations and leadership roles in 14 plus years now, and a very new author of a book, Spine to Weight, which is going to hit the bookshelves very soon and take the world by storm. Welcome to the show, Tipsy Talks.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Wadhwa, for inviting me over to your show. I hope your readers enjoy the episode.
Absolutely, they will, sir. Sir, we'll hit the track running. What does Siachen really like for a young officer? One memory that never leaves you even now, sir.
Brigadier Wadhwa, Siachen is your Karam Bhumi. I mean, I take it that way. Because whatever I am today is what I learned in Siachen, right? And all my leadership actually started there, in service of about a year or so from Siachen. Because that is the time and place where I actually started to lead men and lead men into battle. You know, it was not easy when you are a second lieutenant. Like in our times, we used to be commissioned as second lieutenants, right? So as one-star general. So I think all my basic leadership lessons came from Siachen, from living with the men on the post, eating with them, fighting with them, taking all the storms together, right? So I think for every young officer, a tenure in Siachen or in an operation right in the beginning itself actually serves better than having a mentor who can tell you something on the, through the books and otherwise. It's actually the learning on the ground. So I think my entire life got shaped by Siachen. And the second part you said was about the memory, right? I think the memory that continues to remain with me was I tasted blood in Siachen. When 2 of my own, boys who were basically from Sikh, though I am not an infantry officer, but 2 of my boys from the Sikh battalion who was there, they were, blown up by an artillery shell. Actually, that is a time, or the first time actually I saw blood. And I saw blood all strewn over, on the white ice, and their body parts just blown away. And that is the time I found that even the best troops, like our Sikh troops, unka bhi morale thoda gir jata hai, like, anybody for that matter. So my lesson which I actually learned was there how to actually lead men into battle and ensure that the overall objective remains there. So I was very lucky. I had good troops over there, and they all bounced back, and we actually did very well thereafter. But then, that memory continues to stay with me throughout my life.
I'm sure, sir. And what better an example of baptism by fire than this, sir? So how did earning the Sena Medal change your understanding of courage and responsibility?
Brigadier Wadhwa, Sena Medal came to me pretty early in life, right? This was during Siachen itself. Like I just said, I had about a year and a half. I had just come back after Vios. So something like Sena Medal at that point in time was more like a reward or an award, a thing to celebrate. But later I realized that Sena Medal is, or for that matter, any award or reward, is much beyond your own celebration. It's a responsibility. It's a legacy which you carry. and people look upon you. Okay, this guy is a gallantry awardee, so you tend to be more responsible, uh, and you can't falter, you
Absolutely.
know and you just can't falter thereafter. You are under scrutiny all your life, even when you grow up in the career. And believe me, it is not only when you are in the army, when you are in the corporate also, and when people see that you are a gallantry award winner,
Right.
well, the image changes completely. So automatically your sense of responsibility, and many much more, which actually changes in your life. So it's more of a legacy which you carry, and you have to actually live by that legacy. So award is not a simple celebration. I think it's more about uh, the legacy, which you carry forward in life.
Right. So, what is one leadership principle from the front line that has stayed with you throughout your life?
Brigadier Wadhwa, the biggest leadership lesson that I learned in CHN was any decision that I, as an officer, take will affect the lives of my men, right? It's leading them into battle. You understand it well, and I'm sure your viewers will understand better. It's you're leading them into battle. You don't know whether you'll come back or not. So you're not taking a simple decision of climbing a hill or winning an objective or something.
So,
Any decision that you take affects the lives, and that has stayed with me throughout, even in the corporate, and that has become the a cornerstone of my functioning, even in the corporate. That decisions that I take affect the lives, so I have to be very, very cautious with such kind of decisions. I cannot take any decision in a hurry, or uh, when I'm not prepared, because it's not only me, it affects everyone else, and their lives, their families, and everything else. I think that's one lesson which stayed with me throughout.
all right. So, let's shift gears now, sir. Since you mentioned corporate, let's shift gears and get into the corporate world. So, what made you decide it was time to hang up your uniform and enter the corporate life?
Well, you're not the first one who's asking me this question, Vinavadva. Stepping out of the uniform was actually not a departure or a moment of departure. It was more of a transition which took place.
Right.
I had already served with pride, and I had learned from extraordinary men. My troops were my best teachers. Like, we all learn from our troops. The best is that
Absolutely.
you learn on ground from your troops, whether it is firing a gun, learning about the gun, learning about anything for that matter. It comes from, and those experiences actually shape your life. But then there comes a point in life, which came into my life also, when I realized uh, that leadership is not confined to a single domain, and that is the domain of the army. So leadership is, it goes beyond that also. Besides that, the world has been changing, and I actually found a pull, to test myself in those unknown waters, and
Right.
understand how different organizations outside function beyond the forge, and how I can contribute to the organizations. The second thing, actually, which was more pronounced, was that I wanted to test the principles by which we lived in the army. For
Right.
example, the ethos that we lived in the army, the ethos of, say, Naam, Namak, and Nishan. And I thought that, can I translate this, or can I obviously translate this into a space of the corporate which is more fluid, less accountable, where you accountability is actually diffused, and the authority is also questioned.
Right.
Can these principles be used? Uh, and and finally, I'll be very frank with you on your show. It was a lot to do with my own personal growth.
Right. Sir.
The growth does not end with the uniform. So I believe that it was time that I picked up something outside, and maybe learned something in an unfamiliar terrain, with a little bit more of humility and understanding. So that is the only thing which actually helped me.
So, seeing you so comfortable in whatever you're wearing today, after having shed your uniform, let me ask you this: what is the biggest cultural shock when you stepped into the corporate world?
you're making me, commit a few things, right?
So,
I still have to survive in this corporate world, Brigadier Vadva, so I'll have to
so
be a little more diplomatic.
diplomatic, absolutely, sir. Suit you, sir.
The biggest cultural shift which I find, or which I found was, honestly, it was the absence of lived sense of cohesion.
Right.
What happens in the army, the cohesion comes, or the alignment comes by instinct. It's very easy for us to have acts and debts, attachments and detachments, without much of an effort, right? Why? Because the mission is clear, the objective is clear, the training is same, everything is same, people are same. You and I may have served work together somewhere, so I know you. It's very easy to adapt to you. We've done courses together, so we are all prepared for this kind of cohesion. But this thing, it doesn't really happen very easily in the corporate. And the reason is very simple, because people come to the corporate for a very short time, many of them.
Right.
They don't align themselves with the organization's objectives and vision. They have their own aspirations, their own expectations, their own interpretations, their own urgency or definition of urgency and accountability.
Right.
So I think this was one of the biggest, things which I realized was different from the army. Besides that, I think there are two more things which I would, if you permit me. The
Certainly.
other was the speed and sense of decision making.
Right.
In the army, decision making is pretty clear.
Clear.
We all know once a decision is taken, everything is like it fall into place.
Absolutely.
And there is no scope or space for any indecisiveness.
Absolutely.
Whereas in the corporate, it takes a long time to take a decision. They get people together, take everybody on board. There are a
Right.
lot of discussions. They stretch into I don't know how many days. Then there are influencers, who are influencing the decision. There are
Okay.
times that data is not there. So much of the thing.
Right.
And finally, I think, which you and I will understand, is our sense of camaraderie in the defense services is something which takes us beyond everything else.
Absolutely, sir.
This is something which I sometimes miss in the corporate. It really needs to be built. It is not easy, or it is not, it doesn't come easily there, right?
Right.
Everybody is there for themselves. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but then it really takes a long time to build that kind of camaraderie in the corporate.
All right. Sir, now you're in a leadership role in a major global company, and in HR and operations. So, which are the military traits, especially the leadership traits, which helped you out in these two operations?
I think the leadership traits, by and large, the essence remains the same, right? But what I carried from the army, and which actually helped me in working in the HR, was basically the clarity of intent, right? Because I used to be very clear about my intention, the objective, the overall objective of the organization, the team goals. So, for me, adapting this and bringing it into the corporate was pretty easy. Besides that, I think we are very good executioners in the army, right? Our operational aspects are extremely good, because we have the training, that kind of training, that whatever doctrine is there on a piece of paper, we can easily put it on ground and look for the outcome. So that was something which was which helped me actually in become a good operational leader, whether it is business operations or for that matter anything else. Besides that, there are many more. Actually, we respect people in the army, so that also helped me. Another important thing which I feel which helped me from the army to the corporate was the bias of taking ownership.
Right.
I'm using a term as bias of ownership, because in the army it is very simple. The outcome is yours. The failures are yours. The wins could be your team's, right? So I think this particular thing from the army, and it was very easy for me to utilize this particular aspect in the corporate and taking ownership of things. And I think that is where which helped me to continue in this company for last 13 years. I have not changed a job since 13 years.
Excellent.
So there is a reason why I did not. Because I think somewhere down the line, people also realize that there is a man maybe who can take ownership of a lot of things. Besides, there's many more, our risk-taking ability. Oh, yes. Leading across generations is another thing that we learn in the army.
Right.
You have a kid who comes to the army at 18, 19 years, the boy who comes to the army, and you have your 2IC, who may not have made it to the next rank, but then he may be senior to you, or you are dealing with a general who is already, so you are actually leading through the generation. So that also helps. So all those things help me, bringing all those concepts from the army to the corporate.
Right, right. So you've been in major leadership roles both in the army and the corporate now, sir. What, according to you, is the biggest difference between the two, and what are the similarities in the two fields?
See, the biggest difference lies, I think, in the architecture of certainty itself. In the military, like I just said, that the purpose is completely non-negotiable. We all understand.
Right.
Our roles are clear, our accountability is immediate, and the consequences are understood by everybody. And actually, this helps us simplify our way of leadership. Because you see, when all these things are clear, then the leadership becomes comparatively easier, and you can actually lead in chaos. Difficult situations and such like things becomes very easy, and you don't have a doubt. Whereas in the corporate, the major issue is that everything is so fluid.
Right.
Goals shift, not only because of markets or the dynamics outside your own product. By the time you come up with a product, the product has become old in the market, right? It is already outdated. So automatically your goals shift. Your roles will overlap. For a particular role, you will find 3, 4, 5 different people working on a similar kind of a thing, and yet not achieving much out of the whole thing. Then influence makes so much of a difference in corporate. Well, in the corporate, I have learned that you learn through a lot of collaboration and a lot of alignment. You have to bring everybody together and get the thing done. It's more democratic in nature. I'm not saying that in the army, whether we are whatever you may call, but then here, unless you have everybody on the platform together, it really doesn't matter. So now these are the things which are different.
Right.
And what you asked about is what is the same. I think the essence of leadership remains the same.
Right.
You see, people everywhere, whether it is the army or in the corporate, they basically respect a leader who is authentic, who is clear, who is fair. Whether you're leading a platoon or a company, or you are leading a team in the corporate, a project team, or anybody, individuals or the people basically want to be trusted. They want to be honored. They want to see a purpose, and the leader has to do the same kind of thing. The other thing is, we talk a lot about courage in the corporate world, in the military world.
So
it's the same in the corporate. It may not be the battlefield kind of courage, but the courage to take the right kind of decision.
Right. I understand.
Yeah, and with a lot of honesty in that decision.
So
So that you can stand by your team, to stand by the outcomes, your integrity, it will all anchor you. So at the end of the whole thing, actually, the principles of leadership remain the same. So whether it is corporate or whether it is this, it's more about trust, creating an atmosphere of faith. So I think that is what remains the same in corporate or whether you are in the military.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about HR, sir. HR seems to be at an inflection point right now, sir. What major shift do you see happening right now in the HR world?
Brigadier Vadhva, I joined in 2012-13.
Sir.
Right. And I realized since then, HR has changed so much. It is now at a point of inflection. Why? Because the entire concept of HR being a support function has changed. Now the HR is not a cost center. Right. HR is now a business owner. It is part of the business. People have come to understand in the industry that besides the market dynamics being at risk, which influence your decision, the talent itself is a risk today, which
Right.
means losing a talent is a cost.
Okay.
So retention of talent and therefore the kind of experience you give to that talent is something which is becoming extremely important. Besides that, today the HR leaders are talking, you know, in the language of business. They are being involved in the business right from the beginning, from the time when you are still communicating with your customer.
All right.
Right, the HR partners are part of the whole discussion so that they understand and they realize what kind of talent will be required to fulfill this kind of commitment which you have given to the customer. Besides that, then your digitalization, your AI, this is all changing the whole concept of the HR. The HR is no more based on experience now. The HR is now coming up with the analytics, predictive analytics, whether it is data analytics, or your decisions are now more objective in HR.
Right.
So I would say that HR is finding its place in the corporate boardrooms rather than खाली एक वो payroll run करने वाला
Okay.
HR या एम्प्लॉय ग्रीवेंस को सॉर्ट आउट करने वाला या फिर पॉलिसीज को सॉर्ट आउट करने वाला, ऐसा नहीं है अभी. थिंग्स हैव चेंज्ड सिंस आई जॉइन्ड द एचआर.
Right. Sir, since you mentioned about automation and AI, tell us a little bit more about how it is changing the talent and the culture management in the corporate world.
Yeah. So, like I just told you, it is not no more hiring and onboarding a particular employee.
So,
what is happening is culturally the HR is changing the whole landscape, wherein the experience which you give to a particular employee is the one which retains the employee, right? And let's not forget, we are actually dealing with the Gen Z and the millennials. Now their way of looking at things is completely different. So culturally, your decisions are now completely being influenced by what data is coming to you, right? Besides that, today, culturally, we are now more flexible, more adaptable. Why? Because the world is working today in a hybrid system. COVID changed everything for us.
Everything. So
now, when we are looking at flexibility, we are looking at hybrid kind of working. We are working across multiple countries in different time zones with different languages, gender diversity. Culture has to change. I mean, you cannot continue with what we did in 80s or we did in 90s.
Absolutely.
When you could stick to the policy and say that, okay, this is the policy which will define a culture. Today, the policies do not define the culture.
Right.
Today, the experience defines the culture.
Right.
And that is where the entire shift in the HR is coming.
Okay.
And that is what is changing in the world today.
Sir, in the rapidly transforming HR world, what must the HR leaders today learn or unlearn to stay relevant?
I think there is a lot which the HR leaders need to learn and unlearn today. The first and the foremost thing that HR leaders have to learn is that how to stay business relevant today. They have to learn business strategies and they must thrive to be part of the business. So you have to understand the language in which the business talks.
Right.
So that's the first thing that the HR has to learn. The second thing the HR leaders have to learn is how to remain, digitally intelligent.
Right.
Okay, and how to attain a fluency in AI. Right. Because this is something which will help them in analytics, which will help them in reshaping their own role, which will help them in workflows, skills, culture, and so much more. Digital ignorance, if I say, is actually going to be a blind spot. And it's going to be a strategic blind spot for the HR. The other thing I think the HR leaders have to now learn is how to lead across generations. Like I just told you, in my company, We are baby boomers and down to Gen Alpha,
Okay, sir.
and the average age that we are have here is just about 27, 28.
Okay, sir.
All right. So if I don't change, right, well, we will not be able to work together. So
Absolutely.
I am Vineet for them. So it's okay, fine. I'm Vineet for them. I'm no more Colonel Vineet Dev Sena Medal.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir.
So it's all right. And sometimes you really feel, oh my God, this guy is almost younger to my daughter or to my son and Vineet. Okay, fine.
Fair
Well,
enough,
all
sir.
those things happen. And if I say that if we have to unlearn a few things, I think the most important thing that we have to unlearn or is how to how to unlearn controlling people.
Okay, sir.
Today's generation cannot or doesn't like to be controlled. It's an old concept of HR to survive, which will not work. And I just told you, like, policies today, they do not form the culture, right? Experience does.
Right, sir.
And lastly, you cannot anymore rely on your intuition in HR now.
Okay, sir.
You have to rely on something which is more objective, and
Right.
that is data,
Data.
because data will not lie to you. So
Right.
you have to learn to do that. So I think these are certain things which you have to learn and unlearn as an HR leader today. And by the way, this is something which I've brought down in my book also. So
Absolutely,
that's
sir.
how.
So that brings us to the book now, sir, and the final discussion with you. What inspired Spine to Wait? Spine to Wait, ladies and gentlemen, as we discussed earlier, is the book that Col Vineet is going to be taking out very very soon now. Why this book and why now, sir?
Firstly, Brigadier Vadhva, we just released the book on the 12th of April. It was my wife's birthday, so we
All
released
right,
this book. And
excellent,
I last night only I got the author's copy of this book. So the
excellent.
book is now already available on Amazon as well as on Notion Press. Well, actually, if you talk about the inspiration, actually it came from a very simple realization, and that realization is that uh, many leaders today are actually struggling to keep up pace with whatever is happening outside. There are very young professionals who are suffering, mid-level leaders, even the corporate CEOs, right? They are suffering from navigating complexities in different situations. Actually, our generation may not have faced all those kind of things, but situation is pretty complex today. So
Right.
honestly, I felt it is an obligation for me to, bring down all those leadership lessons which I'd learned in mountains or in Kashmir or in United Nations mission or anywhere else, and also learned so much in the cold and humid and air conditioned corporate
Uh,
corporate offices. So I think when I talk about CHN and the army and much more than that, it brought in that kind of spine in me, right? A spine to stand firm when everything around you is breaking down. Uh, but then wading was brought by corporate, where I learned how to navigate through ambiguity, how to navigate through politics, how to navigate through constraints, right? And competing priorities. So that is where I realized that this is a book which I must write. And I think this book is an invitation for people to slow down, learn, reflect from their experiences, and think more strategically being a leader. So that's why I decided to write this book.
Excellent, sir. And I'm sure it'll be a very interesting read, sir. Out of curiosity, sir, what does the metaphor spine and weight mean in your own journey thus far? Of course,
So
you
I
did
just made a
mention a little
mention to
bit
you
of that.
actually. Yeah, I just made a mention to you actually. Spine to wade, it just didn't come out of a jiffy. Spine to wade is something that I have lived all my life, right? And this metaphor has actually come naturally. And these two words are, like I just told you, spine basically represents your conviction, your courage, your integrity, your willingness to take a stand when things are uncomfortable. It's the moral anchor, right, that prevents you from drifting.
Right.
Whereas wading represents fluidity, adaptability, and the ability to move through complex situations with grace,
Right.
right? And instead of force, rather than force, you move with grace. Actually, this is something which is about the art of navigating through constraints and compromising purposes. I think personally, I feel today's leader in the corporate or even in the army, they need a balance of both. You have to have a spine, but if you have only the spine, then you will be called a rigid leader.
Right.
है ना? अब even army में भी वो जमाने चले गए where
Chale gaye, sir.
you just
So,
the guy has got a very straight back spine and something that, well, it doesn't work that way. So I think the metaphor captures a balance between spine and weight. That's how I decided to have this as a
wonderful. So, if the readers, when they read the book, if they were to take only one leadership lesson from your book, what would that be, sir?
Brina Madhva, some people did ask me this question, and I have
Yeah.
always been at loss to answer this question because
So,
when I started to write this book, I did not have this in my mind, this particular thing that I'm going to convey any leadership lesson, because it was supposed to be a book with lived experiences and my own transition into a different phase.
so,
But after I have written it, I think my hope is pretty simple. And my hope is that the leaders discover the human core values of leadership.
right.
Uh, I want this book to serve as a companion to people. It's to remember that you can be strong uh, without being completely hard. Uh, you can be decisive without being dismissive. You can be ambitious without losing your own humanity. Okay. And if this book helps a few leaders discover their own spine and learn to wade through complexities of life with grace, I think I would have achieved. And everybody will reflect and maybe relate it in their own possible way with this book, because this is not a playbook, right? It doesn't tell you that this way or leadership has to be this way or this is a better way of leadership. It is nothing of that kind. It is all lived experiences, so everybody will relate it differently with themselves.
Wonderful. So now we come to a very exciting round called Tipsy Talks, sir, where I'm going to shoot. I mean, you're a gunner, sir. So 10 bombs away for you, sir. And you can't duck. You have to give me very, very crisp and brief answers. Are we ready for this, sir?
Okay, let's see.
So the first one coming your way, army or corporate coffee? What do you prefer?
Enameled tea in enameled cup with troops, because that is what I remember. Still, a cup of coffee with the corporate, because that is future.
Diplomatic. That's there in the back of my mind. All right. Sir. The next one, sir. One leadership quote you live by.
Oh, Manekshawism. You heard about that?
You can tell the
Field Marshal
audience.
Manekshaw said, yeah, Field Marshal Manekshaw said one day, if you must be a bloody fool, be one quickly and own the outcome. So if you have to take a decision, might as well take it quickly and just own the outcome. What the hell are you thinking?
Absolutely.
So I think that is one quote I have always lived by in my life.
Sir, a book that has shaped your thinking and still does.
So many actually, but then I think Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Franklin is the one which actually taught me how to live by purpose, resilience, and dignity of choice. So I think that one book is still with me.
Right. So one habit that keeps you grounded.
Start my morning in silence and peace. That's the time I don't even talk to my wife, and that is the biggest cause of because that helps.
Understood.
That
you can
helps
leave that
you-
unsaid,
helps
sir.
you-
We have understood this.
that helps you stay focused. You can think about what's going to happen, and you can plan yourself. So start your day in silence.
Absolutely. So the toughest lesson, life lesson, which uniform has taught you? Sir?
You can be prepared for everything in life except a loss. And the loss of your men, your body, your troops is something which is toughest to accept.
All right.
And for me, that lesson continues to stay with me.
Right.
Take any decision, but then it should not lead to loss of your own men or life of your own men. So that's how it is.
Understood. Sir, this might be a repeat, sound like a repeat. Most surprising corporate cultural shock. It can be very
I
diplomatic.
told you. I told you. I think it's about cohesion. It's about
Done, sir.
seeing the objectives and being aligned to that.
Aligned to it. Understood. So leadership in one word, just one word.
Well, I think it can be a sentence. You permit me that?
Sure, sir.
Well, I just told you. Leadership is about leading and impacting lives rather than livelihood.
Understood.
So all your decisions have to be based accordingly.
So now HR in one word or one sentence.
Oh, trust and faith. HR is nothing without trust and faith.
Right.
Nothing
So,
without trust and faith.
Excellent. A place that shaped you the most.
Oh, in fact, both Siachen and Kashmir.
All right.
They changed my life, both of them, because that is where I saw the real life.
So the last question, sir. What's next for Colonel Vineet Dev, Sena Medal?
Buddy, I am already 61 and I'm continuing to work. So I think it's about helping build leaders, organize themselves, and working through generations. And I think it's now time to take spine to wade into conversations where it will truly move people and make them better leaders.
Excellent, sir. So it was a pleasure interacting with you, sir. Sir, at the end of this conversation, if there was one strong, brief message that you would like to leave behind for the youth and emerging leaders, what would that be, sir?
I think it's time for the emerging leaders to smell the coffee, see the change, and change their ways of leadership. It's time that they become more adaptable, flexible, and see how generations need to be led rather than how you lead the generations. Right? It's time to actually see what these generations see value in and align the overall thing, because that is your job, to align the organization, to align the objectives of the generations, and then lead rather than pushing through like hard way. So I think that is what
so I'm sure it will go down very well with the youth and emerging leaders watching this show today, and for posterity also, sir. Thank you so very much for being on this show, sir, and letting us, giving us wonderful insights into both the military as well as the corporate and the revolution which the HR is facing today and it's going to face in the coming time. Thank you so very much, sir. Here's wishing you all the very best with your current job and, of course, the book, Spine to Wade. I'm sure I'll get a copy and read, and so would.
Thank you very much,
sir. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Brigadier Wadhwa. Thanks a lot.
There are 3 key takeaways from the lovely interaction that we had with Colonel Vineet Dev today. Number 1, leadership is universal, but context defines its expression. Whether on the Siachen Glacier or in a global boardroom, leadership boils down to courage, clarity, and taking responsibility. The environment changes, but the principles remain the same. Takeaway number 2, HR is fast evolving from process-driven to purpose-driven today. With digital transformation, AI, and global workforces, HR is no longer about administration alone. It's about building trust-rich, scalable human ecosystems that drive performance and culture. And last but not the least, takeaway number 3, spine and wade are the 2 sides of modern leadership. Great leaders need the spine to stand firm on values and the willingness to wade into uncertainty. Strength and adaptability are no longer opposites, they are inseparable. Today's episode showed us that leadership isn't about the uniform or the designation. It's about who you choose to be when life tests you. Thank you, Col Vineet Dev, for sharing your journey of spine, weight, and everything in between. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for this lovely conversation today. Until the next conversation on Tipsy Talks, Keep learning, keep evolving, keep it real, and as always, stay thoda sa tipsy. Jai Hind.